Coming up on today's show.
She said, "Oh, you and I are going on a plant-based diet for the month of January." And I'm like, "Well, what does that mean?" And she's like, "That means no meat, no chicken, no fish, no dairy, nothing that
No fun.
Each night we knew exactly what we were going to make. I knew exactly where the recipes were in the book. I actually numbered them so I could find them really easily.
Organizing a diet today on Keeping You Organized. Hello, welcome to Keeping You Organized. You know, at the beginning of the year, people make decisions. They set resolutions and goals. You know, we've talked about that before. And some of those things center around like going on a diet. I mean, and you know, it's hard enough to do a diet as it is, but if you're organized about it, it can maybe be a little bit easier. We're going to bring on Maria Gracia today back to Keeping You Organized. Hello, Maria.
How are you, John? Thank you so much for having me.
Great. It's been a while since we've talked, but you always have these great tips and ideas, and you have a great website, getorganizednow.com. And so we're going to talk about organizing a diet. So tell me a little bit about that concept.
Yeah, well, you're getting me at a very good time because my daughter came home at the end of December and said, "Mom, I have a great school project that I'm working on and you can help me out with it." And I asked her what that would be because, you know, the kids are always roping into something. And she said, "Oh, you and I are going on a plant-based diet for the month of January." And I'm like, "Well, what does that mean?" And she's like, "That means no meat, no chicken, no fish, no dairy, nothing that
no fun
out of the ground." Yeah, basically, or come off of a tree. So, of course, wanting to help her, she's 15 going on 16, and I really wanted to encourage her because it's a good thing she's doing for herself. I thought it would be fun. And also, going on a diet like this, I thought would be something that many people would be interested in, any diet for that matter, and getting organized to do so. So that's kind of why, I'm kind of bringing up the subject right now. And, once you hit, you get past the holiday season and all that, once you're past those New Year's resolutions that are broken, it's kind of a good time to pick up again this time of year. So.
Right. Well, I think, diet can be like project management, time management, all those things we talk about on the show here. So maybe we should dissect this into some pieces on how to successfully do this.
Yeah, definitely.
So where should we start?
Well, the thing that I had to start with personally was getting myself in the mindset of exactly what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
What does this diet mean? This diet means that if I have eggs in my fridge, which I have to have because my husband is going to eat them, that I can't have those eggs, and I have to eliminate or put aside the foods that I can't eat and then introduce all the foods that I want to eat and make it very easy and convenient to myself, because I know that if, dinner time rolls around and I have to run to the supermarket at 6:00 at night, I'm not going to be pleased. And it's going to be really hard to stay on, a diet like this. So I think it's really important to get yourself in the mindset and to come up with exactly what is going to have to be done to keep you motivated and keep you going without, worrying about, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to keep up with this because, I really didn't prepare well enough to do this." Right. So one of the first things that my daughter and I did was we sat down and we started going through some recipes online to figure out exactly what we were going to make that we were both going to enjoy and how I was going to feed my husband at the same time because, he wasn't on this journey with us. She didn't invite him. So,
well, that's kind of a mental game right there. If you have others in the household and, like my daughter, we were going on a plant kind of similar kind of thing, vegan or whatever, paleo, I think it was, it just changes every time. But, we'll say, "Well, you can't have that." She goes, "Oh, yes, I can." And it's like, "Oh, Gary, thanks a lot."
Right?
Yeah. So you that's a mental game right there, is working with the other people who don't have to be on it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're the main cook, which I am in my house, you don't want to have to make two huge meals every night for everybody. So, all these individual things. And my daughter and I don't necessarily love the same things. For example, I love coconut. She does not at all.
Mm,
So, it kind of is, definitely, where you have to make a list and you have to say, okay, this recipe is going to work for us. This recipe is not going to work for us. Or if you see a recipe that's going to take an hour, well, we're pretty busy.
right.
My daughter's at the age, she's not quite driving yet, but she is working. So I have to get her back and forth to work
Yep.
after school. So if a meal, is going to take 45 minutes, an hour, there's no way, that we're going to be able to do that recipe on that particular night. So
Right.
what we did was we gathered about 50 recipes that we thought were doable. Our rules were that the ingredients couldn't be anything really weird. We'd have to be able to pick them up in our supermarket. We'd both have to agree that it's probably a recipe that we would both like. It had to be a recipe that my husband would eat. And then if I needed to, I can make him a piece of fish or something in addition on the grill. And it had to be easy, not a whole lot of prep work,
Right.
on our part. So, getting those recipes was key.
Did you
for
like,
our
did you like print them out or put them in a
did,
book or
yeah.
a box or something?
Yeah, and I'm a really big online person. I don't usually print a lot of stuff out, and being organized, I can't deal with the paper clutter and all that.
Right.
But I didn't want to have to turn on my computer when I got home and search for the recipe we were looking for. And it's just easier sometimes to just have it on paper. So we printed them all out. We put them in sheet protectors, threw them in a binder. We had them somewhat separated, like salads, soups, main dishes, side dishes, and all divided with index dividers. And when I got home, we kind of had a meal plan. So we'd
Right.
say, okay, Monday, we're going to make the butternut squash, ravioli or whatever. And Tuesday night, we're going to have a salad, with cranberries and walnuts and all that kind of stuff. So, each night we knew exactly what we were going to make. I knew exactly where the recipes were in the book. I actually numbered them so I could find them really easily. And then all I really had to do was get the ingredients for those particular recipes. And I usually would buy, let's say, 4 or 5 days worth of ingredients,
Right.
just so it didn't get so overwhelming. And of course, in the plant-based diet, it's a lot of fresh food. So you can't really shop 2 weeks in advance for that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that was a little bit of a change for me too.
So scheduling really is part of this too. I mean, did you have like a calendar that had all the meals on it, or you just did it a couple days at a time, or?
Yep, I did about 4 days at a time, sometimes 5. And what we did was I didn't actually use a regular calendar. I just took a piece of paper and divided it, by days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then divided that. We really only planned out like the lunches and the dinners, because for breakfast we do oatmeal normally.
Right.
So that was just an easy go-to for us. But for lunches and dinners, I just kind of took a piece of paper, made a grid, and just wrote them on there, real down and dirty, no computer needed.
Right.
Super, super easy, because, obviously doing a new diet takes a little bit of extra work because you're not doing something you're used to doing. So now I have to read the recipes and all that, and I have to chop the foods, and,
Right.
it's different.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the actual, when it gets down to cooking time, because hopefully you plan enough time and some of those kinds of things. So we're with Maria Gracia talking about organizing a diet, and we'll be right back.
The Organized Home Office from MyOrganized.life. When you work from home, your workspace doesn't have to be bland and boring. Brighten up your home office with organizing solutions from MyOrganized.life. It's just for you. MyOrganized.life. MyOrganized.life.
We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about organizing a diet. All the little intricacies, much like project management, time management, all rolled in one. And we have Maria Gracia with us, Get Organized Now. Maria, so we've kind of really touched on a lot of these areas of like scheduling and, you make the list, which is kind of your, organizers love to-do lists, right? How about when it gets down to actual cooking and, maybe your daughter does have to have work, and how do you kind of put it all together there at crunch time?
Yeah. So, okay. So what I do is, when I am actually when I'm making that plan, I always make sure if my daughter has swim practice or she has to work or whatever she has to do, the meal has to be done in 30 minutes. So I don't make any recipes that are going to take more than that time. So that definitely takes a little thought with the planning. The day that I'm getting ready to cook the meal, I always have my plan like the night before. I'm kind of looking at it and I'm saying to myself, well, we need some bell peppers for that recipe. They need to be chopped. We need some red onions for that recipe. They need to be chopped. Anything that I can do ahead of time the night before, I will do that and have that all ready in the refrigerator. So everything's portioned out already. I know exactly what I have to throw in. And when it comes time to make the meal, I just throw everything in the pot or pan. So that works, if I'm making like something that can be done quick. If I'm doing something in the slow cooker, that can actually all be made the night before. Then I just put the slow cooker, I put the inside of the slow cooker into my fridge.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, I just take it out of the fridge, put the slow cooker, plug it in, turn it on. And at night when she's home from school, the meal's ready. So that would work for a soup or a stew or something like that. But slow cookers or Instant Pots for people who like to use Instant Pots.
Yeah, we just got one at Christmas. Still trying to figure out, the steam vent and all that, and how that works. But how about this? This is an ideal program, right? You're blocked out your time and you got your list. How about things that maybe come up unexpectedly, or interruptions, or the power goes out or something? Have you had anything like that affect you, and how would you deal with it?
Well, if the power goes out, we're eating a salad, no doubt. That's
so you have a backup meal, right?
Yeah, exactly. But having, I might have a recipe plan for a particular night, and who knows what happens. Maybe something comes up at school, and all of a sudden my whole schedule has to be rearranged. In that case, I probably wouldn't make the scheduled recipe, but rather make something I've already made in the past that I don't even need a recipe for, that I can just throw together really quick. Mm-hmm. So I always have a list of about 10 recipes. They're all written down, especially for the new diet, that I can throw together very, very quick, like a pasta primavera or something like that. Mm-hmm. Because, it's really important when you start a new diet that you're flexible, maybe not so flexible that you're going to go off the diet, but flexible with what your original plan was.
Right.
And to deviate that plan is not a big deal. You can always make the recipe that you were planning on making that night another night.
Right.
And that has happened throughout the month. So,
well, now I'm thinking about this as a project for, it's not something that a doctor said you need to go on this. I mean, you're kind of doing it. So maybe the month comes to an end. Is it something you want to keep doing, or, kind of what is the next piece of this? Or do you just stop and go back to eating, meat and potatoes?
Right. And it's definitely time to evaluate at the end what you're feeling. Did it give you more energy? Are you sleeping better? Are you noticing that you lost some weight? So whatever your goals were at the beginning of a diet are important. The goal for my daughter, particularly, was to finish the project and see if she could do it, essentially. And I'm shocked, that a child her age is actually able to be so, so good with something like this and not really go off of it. But for me in particular, with this particular diet, I do feel really good, and I'm actually very surprised at the energy that I do have. I thought I would be hungry. I'm not hungry. So I do feel good. So I was talking to my daughter about this, which, is what anybody who is starting a new diet should do, talk with somebody that they trust and that they love, and, find out if it's worth going and, continuing. For my daughter and I, we were thinking we miss cheese too much to continue.
Especially if you're from Wisconsin. I mean, come on.
Right. Well, I'm actually from New Jersey. It's even worse. The Italian family. So, Parmesan cheese and eggs, I can probably do without the meat, but without the cheese and the eggs, it's been really hard. So we were thinking maybe we would stick to it for maybe 5 of the 7 days. Oh. And, maybe 2 of the days kind of go off of it a little. We like to go out to eat once in a while. Sure. It's a little hard to go out to eat in Wisconsin on a plant-based diet. It'd be easier on the East Coast, but definitely time to evaluate and see if it's working for you and to tweak it. Sometimes, you're doing great with it, and other times you're having some challenges. Well, if you are having challenges, it's a great time to just adjust that a little bit so that it works for you.
Great. Well, I think it's been very motivating because I think when you take it, like any project, you take it and you break it down into, some of the things that are the obstacles. Well, what do I make? Well, you got the recipes. And, well, how do I work this into my busy schedule? You've got the time management piece of it and the right attitude. And I think doing it with someone else also really helps, having kind of some accountability there. So anyway, well, before we go, why don't you let people know what you're up to these days, how they can get a hold of you, and more about your website.
Absolutely. Well, that's exactly how people can get a hold of me. They can go to my website, getorganizednow.com. That's where you can also access my blog and my social media pages and all that. We have lots of goodies on the site, checklists, challenges, tons of tips. We have products in our store that are a little more in depth than what we have on the site, and just lots of good fun. So, and my newsletter. I have a daily newsletter. I'm actually doing a daily newsletter every single day, and it's called Gone in 5 Minutes. So it's Get Organized Now in 5 minutes. Each newsletter takes you 5 minutes or less to read and gives you tips for getting and staying organized.
That is awesome. So, so it's Get Organized Now. And do you have anything about the this little experiment on there or not? Or is that just a side project?
So what I'm doing is I created a project a little while ago. It's called Gone Glow. It's get healthy, lose weight, outshine yourself, and wake the wow. And that is a nutrition, healthy living, lose weight type of program.
Okay.
That's not necessarily plant-based, but it's an organized program for staying healthy. And within that program, when you get that program, you can actually hop over to the Facebook page that I have, and I'm putting tons of plant-based information on there right now because that's what we're involved in mostly right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Maria. We're going to have you back again too, and next time we will talk about the cheese-based diet, maybe, and that'll have more excitement. But
that's fun.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. I think now you can get into a diet. It doesn't have to be a plant-based diet, but you know the principles you can use to get organized and be successful at it, and then come back next time with a little popcorn in hand for our next episode of Keeping You Organized.